They get headaches, dizziness, nausea, they can't concentrate. And it doesn't seem to affect everybody the same way, but certain body types seem to be more sensitive to it. So what do we do with that? I guess, is there a way to, you know, do we just, you know, stay away from cell phones? I mean, that's the way our world is right now. I mean, okay. Or is there a way that we can protect ourselves from that?
Paul, we can actually test a person if they are electromagnetic frequency sensitive. Just below the collarbone, there's 2 points here that if we go to the 2 point below the collarbone and the arm muscle test response does go weak, that person is EMF. We can demonstrate by giving a person 2 batteries, AA batteries, in their hand. They'll be strong as ever. But you give them a 3rd battery, they'll have absolutely no strength to be able to hold that up. Also using a hair dryer. We can give the hair dryer, just turn the energy on in the hair dryer, and that muscle will go weak. We have the ability to fix that problem by using certain products. If a person is EMF in the household, let's say that if a person is EMF in the household, if that person faces somebody else across the room, he will actually affect that person's
There's actually electricity coming out from that person that can negatively impact somebody else. That's bizarre.
It'll ricochet right through the whole room. And we have demonstrated that. Dr. Brimhall demonstrated that at every seminar that we go to, whereby if that person is EMF, he faces another person, that person will be EMF. We move that person out of the equation, both of those other people will be tested
Well, I
strong.
think most of us don't realize that. I mean, I found it interesting anyhow to find out that everything, I mean, this table here is electrically charged. It's made out of little, you know, charged particles that you can't see, but it's actually not solid. It's actually made up of tiny moving particles. And likewise, as human beings, we're electromagnetic in nature. But we're created that way. You've got some filters over there as well. Do they work, or are they just flashing lights? What are they?
Actually, this is a monitor that we can monitor the amount of what we call dirty electricity in the house, whereby we can take and test each plug-in to see what the energy is. I have filters here that will go into anything over 20, actually over 25 is average or is good, but anything over 25 to 50, you usually have to add a filter to them. So I have one of these in just about every plug-in in my house. Okay, only because it seems that it just seems to be so much more comfortable in the home just because of it.
Interesting.
And some of the readings that we can get will go right off of the scale on this. Turn on certain lights, the reading will go right off. So these are all things that the body is affected by, and any electrical appliances around the headboard, if you're sleeping, all of those issues, radios or whatever, those are going to cause problems with the body's ability to communicate.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Robert Kish, a naturopath from the Calgary area, and their website, www.robertjkish.com. And if you want to find out more information on how to treat what you're doing there, by all means, check out the website or give them a call. Let's take a look at what people had to say on the street, and then we'll get to some of your phone calls asking people here about electromagnetic frequencies.
Are electromagnetic frequencies from cell phones or radio waves unhealthy for us?
I would imagine so, yeah. I don't know much about it, but I would imagine that they'd be unhealthy.
Yep, brain cancer. You get brain cancer.
Our body has an electromagnetic field, and I suppose it will affect it. Anyways, yeah.
Well, as long as you don't have it in your ear 24/7, I think it's okay to use it.
Is there anything we can do or should do about it?
Make the cell phone bills higher.
More research. I'd say study it more, find out more about it, and give the information to all the people out there.
Yeah, you might as well use a landline if you're going to talk for hours.
Well, anytime that you charge an extra tax for that, then people kind of have second thoughts about if they really want to do it or not.
All right, there you go. Cell phones, are they bad for you? I know Bob was telling me that you saw an article, or was it in Vancouver? And I know I saw an article that New Zealand was not allowing cell phone towers near elementary schools, I think because they were worried about the possible health risks for children.
That's right. The Vancouver's, apparently in Vancouver, the school board there has refused to allow them to put towers on top of the schools, and they're blaming childhood leukemia, Lou Gehrig's disease. All of these issues are coming up. There's another article that we found when we had advertised one of the girls that came to our office. She was extremely EMF sensitive, and when we had suggested for the Satellite newspaper to interview this lady, they actually went out and took a look the picture of the power lines to show where she was living, and then they went on the internet to see if we really knew what we were talking about here, and they found that there was over 500 pages from the California Department of Health also stating the same thing, that miscarriages and Lou Gehrig's disease, all the
Well, I'll tell you what, if I wouldn't want to be living close to a cell phone tower. I mean, I mean, it makes me uncomfortable thinking of how much electricity is being beamed out of that thing. I mean,
I was just going to point out, I have one of these on my phone, and if it's in an area that is high, this will actually light up and tell me I'm in a danger zone. So
okay, does it actually provide any protection or just a warning?
it's a protection. It's also protection, but it also will it'll light up and tell you that you're in a high.
Okay, so, interesting.
And our office knows
some technology is available. Okay, all right, let's go. What a world we live in. Alan from Ontario. Hi, Alan.
Hi, Paul. There's obviously some things that the doctor's saying that I don't have any clue on, but hearing what he was talking about is what we put in our body. Can we speed up our death if we what we're eating and drinking? Yeah, we can if you eat a lot of junk food and stuff. But I think there's a scripture in Timothy 4:8. I hope I'm putting it in context, but it says, "For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both now and in heaven." I'm wondering if all these problems with these medical, with you guys are talking about these electrical things going through.
Yeah.
Is this because of the fall of Adam and Eve?
Well, because I would think any kind of sickness does stem from the from sin. I mean, essentially. But it brings up an interesting topic, Alan, and that is, does sin, do our emotions, for example, does sin affect our physical health? What do you think, Alan?
I think it does, Paul. But I think it's one I'm not against natural herbs and stuff like that. Instead of pharmaceuticals, there's other ways you can help yourself. But even if you take natural medicines and you take too much of it, there's side effects to them still.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, herbs can and do have side effects. You're absolutely right. Herbs are not without side effects.
Right.
You need to take them wisely. I mean, you're right on that one.
So it's but even it's just one of these things that I'm not anti-natural drugs, but I'm not anti-prescriptions either. Everyone's different, but it's just we can't. No offense to the Amish and the Mennonites, but, do we have to live like them and have nothing around us? It's just one of these things that we're not going to be totally delivered from.
No, Alan, and please hear me. I don't think that's what Robert Kish is saying here. Thanks for the call, Alan. I don't think you're saying, we got to get rid of cell phones. No, you're saying, reality is that we live in this world today. We do eat foods. And I know, for example, you don't eat everything absolutely natural off the tree. There's some junky stuff that you eat probably, and I know what I eat. But you're saying, well, that needs to be balanced with I guess, not eating too much of it, and there's some supplements you can take to offset that. There's some protection you can get for your home, for example, and your cell phone to reduce the level of, microwaves that are coming at your body, right?
Yeah, and this is what is so nice, Paul, in regards to when Alan was saying that there's an issue here about taking certain herbs. When we actually muscle test the body is actually going to respond in a positive or negative way. We can literally determine the amount of drops a person should take, just like with Joseph. His program was so little that it took him 2 months before he could come back to really see us, and everything had changed so much in that time. So we're able to literally determine, or the body will tell us what and how much a person should take. So we can test out how many drops, how many tablets per day, the whole bit. And if you respond in a negative way, there's no way that we can give it. I should maybe mention another thing in regards to dentistry. We have 4 dentists that are sending their people to us so we can tell the dentist what they should put into your mouth or to what you should inject you with. So for these people to be able to trust us with the fact that we can do this is kind of exciting, because we've seen that happen in office.
There's different kinds of fillings, for example, or different kinds of freezing, I guess, that people use, anesthetic stuff that some people are more sensitive to, and each person seems to vary.
That's right.
So, all right, let's go to Ontario, talk to Anita. Hi, Anita. What do you think?
Hi, I have a question, and I do have a comment, too, on spiritual healing.
Okay.
I found that when I learned about, basically, I think, generational stuff, and went through some of that type of ministry, that my health, which was starting to deteriorate, actually stopped deteriorating.
So what was the secret there then? Was there forgiveness involved, or?
There was forgiveness involved, yes, and a lot of grace praying, and you know, forgiving ancestors, forgiving those who sinned, and bringing myself into it also. Like you include yourself with this, eh? But my health, which was deteriorating from about my mid-40s, actually stopped deteriorating, and I gained ground, so that I'm probably healthier right now than I was 20 years ago.
That's very interesting, and what you say to me makes sense. I mean, the Bible talks about, you know, jealousy and envy being rottenness to the bones. Well, you know, I mean, we might say, well, that's just an expression, but I think the Bible actually literally means it can affect even your bones.
Right, to
you know?
the bones, it will. That's right. If you read Leviticus 19, in Leviticus, I'm sorry, it tells us exactly what we should be doing. Basically, you know, if we think about it, we're the only ones that come into this life without a manual. It takes us a while before we realize that this book here is something that we should be going to determine what we should be doing with ourselves, you know. So, yeah, emotional issues can be a big factor, and the forgiveness. We have actually had people whereby we would ask them to write a letter forgiving this person, write it out, and
get positive results from that.
Yeah, you betcha. Yes.
Interesting. So, what other question do you have, Anita?
I had a cataract removed on August 20th, and everything went fine. And a few days ago, I started to get an itch in my eye, and I went to the eye surgeon, and because I have a dry eye, I now have some inflammation on the outside of my eye. It's not inside, and I am taking drops for that. But I want to know if there's anything else I can do for that would, first of all, put liquid back in that eye, because eye drops don't come into this particular eye. And if there's anything else I can do right now to bring healing into this inflammation, because it's just on the surface right now and I don't want it to go any further.
Sure.
We have a product that we use in our office, Anita, for stimulating the hypothalamus, because the hypothalamus is literally responsible for all the secretion that happens within our system. A person who has dry eyes, it's basically the hypothalamus that we stimulate to make sure that that can happen for you. You know, that's the first thing that I would look at. The other part that we have to think about here is that although we may suggest something that could work for you, our whole key is that is your body in actual balance to be able to receive the supplement that is needed to repair the problem. And this is where we're going back to, you've got to be electrical to be able to be testable. You've got to be chemically balanced to make sure that the food that you're putting into your system is going to strengthen you. And you also have to make sure that the supplement is going to be tagged within the system, so it's going to be sent to where the repair has to go. Everything that we do when we put into our mouth, what we put into our mouth, it's our thymus that releases through the product saliva the ability to tag that nutrient so it'll go to where it's needed most. So.
Now, for Anita, now, see, you're calling from Ontario, so how do we, you know, do this?
Right.
But there is actually, now, you were telling me that you have had some success. For example, if Anita were to call or somebody else and they call, say, well, I can't be there in person. However, you can explain how to do the muscle testing, for example, and you can get a friend, your husband or wife, whatever, to walk that through, do the testing there, and give you the results. And even over the phone, you can actually figure out, to some degree, what's going on and to know which supplements to subscribe,
That's right? Paul, some of the things that we do right now with the way that we even make up our invoices there are certain items that are on that invoice to make sure that this person, for Anita, for an example, what I would do would be I would make sure that she's going to be electrical, send her those things that will make her electrical, make sure that she's going to tag her nutrients, and make sure that she's going to be chemically balanced to receive the product. And then I will know it'll work for her.
Yeah, all right. Does that make sense, Anita?
So,
yep, that makes sense. So basically I will call and set up an appointment.
That's right. And maybe I should mention something now too, because I've been wanting to do this just about every time that I've been on here, Paul, in regards to my wife. My wife works in the office and she's the one who takes all of the calls. And you know, that dear lady, I'll tell you, she has the same certificates, the same diplomas.
She's a naturopath as well.
See, that's right.
She's praying for you at the hotel right now.
That's right. So thank you, dear. And you know, it's amazing what she will do for people over the phone to help them, to try to guide them and lead them for what they should do, you know. So yeah, it's
yeah, you'll talk to Margot. Matter of fact, if you phone that number now, you probably will just get a machine right now until you guys get back later on. So just for those of you watching right now, you'll know.